Sometimes you don't lose a case because you were wrong. Sometimes you lose a case because you're 4 days late. So I lost my rights at the Georgia Supreme Court, and I did lose, and it was because I was 4 days late on a deadline that I misunderstood. And misunderstanding is not an excuse, and I get that. But when children come into play and it's custody, I think there needs to be a little more realistic guidelines and not just a deadline. And if you miss it, you just completely lose your chance at your children. I think that's a bit excessive in this situation, especially when people can't afford attorneys and understand how the system works. Every other court gives you 30 days. This one runs on a completely different clock. The Georgia Supreme Court works on a system that you have to notify the appeals court that you just got denied that within 10 days you're going to apply to or file in the Georgia Supreme Court, and then you only have 20 days to file. So the court that has the biggest play and the biggest say-so, and frankly is the most intimidating to file to, only gives you 20 days to get it done. And I messed that up. I didn't know about that. I thought it was like everything else that said 30 days, and ChatGPT, which I know it's not an authority, but it actually said 30 days as well. I didn't second guess it because I was just using it to edit my documents, and it just threw up a reminder to remind me of the 30 days, which was incorrect. I have 0 avenues after that. Once you hit a stopping point, legally, that is all you can do. So when you're doing stuff, make sure you look things up in the actual state guidelines. I was so worried and intimidated by the filing of the paperwork as far as the meat of my document. I had all my focus on the meat of the document before I went in and really researched the exact details. And then I found out that there was a deadline and I was 4 days past it. So I scrambled and got everything turned in. I filed a motion of leave, and unfortunately that didn't go through. When the last door closes, it doesn't just end the case, it ends a parent's right to repair the relationship with the child or fix a situation. Everything's done at that point. There's nowhere, no direction that I can go to have access to my daughter, to even go to counseling with her. I can't even do that. That's how broke this system is. I can't go and say, hey, let's go and sit down with a counselor and work through that. They blocked it that well. And I never did anything, never was accused of anything. I was accused of stuff, but just normal parenting stuff that people are exaggerating, which is what they do, is they lie, twist, and manipulate. There was no like heavy drinking and beating or anything. And even in those circumstances, people should have a right to fix and better themselves and then repair the relationship with the child. Mine is just a straight case of parental alienation, absolute textbook, and 2 therapists or actual psychologists stated that if she and I would go to proper therapy and all that, especially in the beginning, all of this could have been avoided, that my visitation should have never been stopped, that not having visitation is actually hurting her. Yet the court still ruled against that. And I'll get into the whys and all that, because this system, especially down here in the South, it is, and I'm guessing it's like that everywhere else, is just some backwoods stuff. The real issue with this isn't the hours that I and all these other parents miss with their child. The real issue is we lose our influence on our child. It's the upbringing and the culture and the family and the values that we want to have on our child, and that gets stolen from us. There's only one parent who has full influence of what that child's going to be, and in my case, they've got her secluded up in a small town county on some backwoods property, not going out in the world. With me, she was going out in the world. She was doing scuba diving lessons. She was flying, until she was manipulated into thinking that she didn't like that kind of stuff. And that's what that alienation stuff does, is it will actually pull and manipulate a child away, and it destroys their potential. And that's the biggest thing that was stolen in this case, is you stole my child's potential. And that's a travesty. And when I say you, I'm referring to the court system that stole my child's potential from having another parent having influence on her. And that shouldn't be allowed to happen. And that's why I'm frustrated in making this massive life switch to going into this full time of this stuff's broken. It doesn't need fixed. It needs replaced. But don't worry, the court found a way to keep the money flowing even though the father's not in the picture. And that's what happens in all of these cases. I'm going to be paying $1,000 a month for the next 2 years because it's 2 years left till she's 18. I haven't had regular visitation since she was 12. But I'm going to be paying $1,000 a month for a child that I don't even get to see. And that alone right there is a massive problem. And I think there should be legislation that if there's a parent that wants to see a child and time with their own child, and you're not going to give that, you shouldn't have to pay child support. If you're saying that my influence isn't good enough, then my money shouldn't be good enough. The two go hand in hand. So now I have to actually work more and continue working while I'm actually trying to recover for some stuff. And with that, I'm having to pay $1,000 a month for support on a child that I can't see. Now, I understand that there's abuse cases, there's people that are in jail, there's serious cases where there could be an exception. But in general, I think we should pass a law. But to me, if you're not getting visitation with a child and you want that visitation, you shouldn't also have to pay child support. You don't get your cake and eat it too. We come as a package. We're not just a paycheck as a parent. Most people would think that this is the end of the story, but it's actually just the beginning, because this was the Georgia Supreme Court. And I can tell you what I think about Georgia. Their court system sucks. So let's take this to the U.S. Supreme Court, because I don't think it was right that they can take away all of my parental rights when I had no help in the court system from the state. I wasn't allowed a jury, so I'm stuck with the judge. I had to go up in my case against a local county solicitor for opposing counsel. I was never given any guidelines. I don't think the court should be allowed to take away children when they aren't providing some legal assistance with this system. So I'm going to go to the Supreme Court with this and say, hey, listen, your little 4-day thing, it's a bunch of crap. Because in reality, you should have given me some kind of notification like, hey, you lost here at this appellate court. You do have some rights to go to the Georgia Supreme Court, but you only have 10 days to let us know. There's nothing like that. There's no guidance. We're just going to take your kids away. And if you don't have money to pay the lawyers, to pay the toll into their little Ponzi scheme, legal system, then you don't get to participate. So I think we should take this to the U.S. Supreme Court. So if you're with me on that, I would love your support. Chime in, make a comment. And that's my next step. So where are we going after this? We're going to the U.S. Supreme Court. I've got 90 days. I already looked that up. So I've got probably about 80 days left at least, if not 85 days. I've had this about a week. So yes, somewhere around there, about 80 days left. I'm going to shoot for getting it filed in 45 days and be working on it. So let's try to make this a thing that if I can get them to say, you know what, you violated this man's due process by not providing him some guidelines and took away his kids, and that's a bit excessive. So this next step is not about getting my daughter back. It's about exposing the broken system, and that's my platform now, because there's no legal avenue that I can go to remedy a situation with my child. They stole that from me. It was manipulated, there was lying, and it was stolen from me. And I'm not going to take that lightly. So that's where we're going to be going with this. We're going to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I really hope you'll like and follow and join me, because I promise with this platform, I'm going to do something that no other platform has done, is call out the system and actually call it for what it is. Anyway, I could rant about this forever. Thank you so much for watching it. Again, subscribe, share, all that's appreciated. I'm going to work real hard on getting more regular content out. It's a lot harder than I thought it was to do this stuff on a regular basis while holding a full-time job and kids and all that. But I'm pretty set up as far as where to shoot and how to shoot and everything, so I should be able to get a little more frequent. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your support.